Welcome to the Overdrive Outdoors podcast.
Your source for everything outdoors.
Let's kick it into overdrive.
Overdrive Outdoors podcast brought to you by Predator Hunter Outdoors. Whether you are new to predator hunting or looking to upgrade your equipment, Predator Hunter Outdoors will have you hunting after the sun goes down. Carrying a full line of lights, night vision, and thermal optics, along with tripods, calls, mounting systems, and more, check them out at www.predatorhunteroutdoors.com or on Facebook at Predator Hunter Outdoors. Use promo code OVERDRIVE2021 for 20% off your order. Want to lengthen your time in the field and shorten your scouting time? Not only does the HuntWise app show you property boundaries, landowners' names, and in some cases even their phone number, but using the app will show you the wind direction on the map of the place you want to hunt. And the HuntCast feature shows peak movement times for various species, including predators. Get the HuntWise app at www.huntwise.com, the Google Play Store, or the Apple App Store. For only $59.99 a year for Pro or $119.99 a year for Elite. Use promo code OVERDRIVE20 for 20% off an annual membership. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us on the Overdrive Outdoors podcast today. For host today, you have me, Kevin Rott, and we have a special guest today, Phil Ellis. How you doing, Phil?
I'm doing good. How are you, Kevin?
I'm doing well. I'm inside right now. It's nice and cold outside, so I'm inside and comfortable.
Yeah, me too. It was really, really chilly here this morning, so I'm just trying to stay warm.
Right now, where are you located at?
I'm in just out about 5 miles east of Sioux City, Iowa, out in the middle of nowhere.
Okay, and it gets cold out there. You said we were talking a little bit before we started the podcast. It was -1 out there.
That was just 24 hours ago. It
Okay.
was in negative numbers. So yeah, it gets cold. It gets
Gotcha.
cold.
Phil is an integral part of Shivershield. Shivershield, and this is my opinion, but I know it's shared by a lot of people. Shivershield is probably the best cold weather gear I have ever tried. Matter of fact, it is the best cold weather gear I have ever tried. I've been hunting for right around 40 years. And I've always struggled to try and find something that didn't make me feel like that little kid from the Christmas Story when his mom bundles him up and he's walking down the street and he can't move his arms and everything and he falls down. He can't get up like a turtle. The struggle has always been to not be like that, yet still be warm and not have something that makes a bunch of noise. And a little backstory on how I got introduced to Shivershield. A couple of our guys on our team, Joe Mintz and Matthew Schock, had bought it early on when we first started talking to you. And then I think Josh got it. And, for me, it was just kind of, I was looking at the gear, it looked good and everything, but it was just a hard pill to swallow because of how much it cost, which, it is what it is in that regard. But then I actually tried it on. We were at the weigh-in at a tournament. I think it was a dog down tournament, and it was cold. And I think Joe, or maybe it was Jeremy, because Jeremy had his before I had mine too. He says, "Man, you look cold. Here, put this on." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll put it on." And I was like, "Holy crap!" I mean, within a matter of minutes, I wasn't cold anymore, and it's not bulky. The one thing that's I found that's a little bit unique about it is that if you have it sitting somewhere and you grab it and pick it up, it feels stiff. But once you wear it and it warms up to your body temperature, it's totally flexible. And that right there, actually trying it, made up my mind for me to actually buy it. And I don't regret the purchase in any way, shape, or form, because now I've hunted in -20, I think it's -23, -24 degrees. And all I had on underneath it was a simple base layer. Never got cold. As a matter of fact, if you go out and do a bunch of walking, you have to kind of unzip part of it because you'll get too warm. So unzipping it, which they do have plenty of zippers and stuff, which is nice. Acts as a little bit of a vent in case you are getting warm if you're walking or doing a lot of physical exercise in it. But like I said, it's probably the best investment I've made for hunting in cold environments. So why don't you tell us about Shivershield, Phil? Where did it get started? And kind of history of the company.
Yeah, that sounds good. I will start back as far as I can remember. Yeah, Shivershield's been around for just shy of 12 years now. And we actually, when we started, and I'll tell you, Brian and Becky McFarland are the two people that started it. They are the owners. I guess I'm considered a partner.
And they're located out in California or Colorado, right?
They're in Colorado. They're originally from right around here.
Okay.
Most people don't know this, but I live in an area that's the tri-state area. It's South Dakota, Nebraska, and Iowa. And Brian and Becky are from this area, and they ended up moving out to Windsor, Colorado, which is just northeast of Denver. But and it's nice and cold out there too, not like it is here. It's not as brutal as here in Michigan, that's for sure. But anyway, it started in Iowa at the time, and actually we had some local people that were manufacturing the garments, and it was a different type of insulation then. It was still aerogel, but it wasn't the aerogel based insulation that we're using now. It was encased in these like these plastic pieces, like plastic sheeting almost, some type of poly casing. But anyway, since then we've developed this new foam-based aerogel. And you mentioned how it was stiff in the cold. It's because it's one big sheet of foam insulation. Yeah. And it's impermeable to rain. It's impermeable to snow. In the seams, of course, you got to worry about that. We can't actually call it waterproof because of seams, but the insulation itself is waterproof. But anyway, since then we've gone through a couple of manufacturers, and we've gotten to the point where we've perfected the garments, or as perfect as they could possibly be. But they're extremely light, like you mentioned, and you don't have to layer up underneath them.
Right.
But we've gone through revisions over the last 12 years, and we came up with a really, really good product. And it's great for hunters too, because you mentioned it's quiet. The hunting line, at least, is a very, very soft. I'm trying to think of the term for it. It's close to a micro fleece, and it's very, very soft and very, very quiet. And you're right about that. When you first put it on, it's a little stiff, and over time, over the years, it gets less and less stiff as you wear it too, as you probably know. Mm-hmm. So anyway, but back to the company, we've just gone through, a few revisions here and there, and now we've come out with this great line of gear it's fantastic. And is it expensive compared to other things? Yeah. Is it worth it if you want to stay out for as many hours as you want to? Absolutely, it is.
But going back to the price point, it's still not as expensive as some others. And I'm not going to mention any names of other brands, but you hear guys on the forums on social media talking, whenever you see a recommendation of what's the best cold gear, and you see someone mention a particular brand that comes up a lot, I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. But you go price their stuff, and their stuff is substantially more expensive than Shivershield.
Oh yeah, and ours completely outperforms it too. That's the crazy thing. It's just that not very many people have heard of us as opposed to that other brand.
Right.
But we've actually had independent testing, and at a university that I'm not allowed to mention, but in a university in the region here. And they did testing using dummies and wires and tests and everything. And
I don't remember being in that test.
Well, I said dummies.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
It was a different dummy. But they rated it depending on your level of activity, because you mentioned too, and we'll get to that, but depending on your level of activity, it's rated at negative 62.5 degrees Fahrenheit. And we've had people in very cold environments, whether it's Alaska, Russia, there are places where people have taken this and they swear by it because it does what we say it's going to do. So yeah, it's but the level of activity is something that you were talking about. When the cool thing about it, and I've experienced this too, the coldest temperature I've ever worn it in, the actual temperature was 35 below zero. That was about 5 years ago when it was really, really cold. You remember that?
Yep.
But you can, if you start sweating in it, the cool thing about it is you can actually unzip it, get yourself cool again, zip it back up, and you're immediately warm. It doesn't matter
like that.
how dry or wet you are, you will remain warm. And that's the cool thing about it.
Yep. Now you mentioned some testing done at the university, and if I'm right, if you still have them out there, there are some videos on YouTube of someone being in that suit and then being sprayed with liquid nitrogen as part of the testing, if I remember right, wasn't it? Well, maybe not part of that testing at the university, but it was.
Well, there was a couple of things you may be referring to. One of them was Henry Ford's Innovation Nation, which is a show on like National Geographic Channel.
Okay.
And the host, we sprayed down in Shivershield with liquid nitrogen. And also Brian was a guinea pig for that. And that was kind of cool. It was kind of cool being on national television, and they still play it every once in a while. And we can tell because every time they play it, we get a lot of phone calls, or we got a lot of orders, or a lot of questions about it, which is cool.
Yeah.
But the other one, Brian actually has it on, and he's spraying, with that tiny little liquid nitrogen dispenser right on his arm.
Mm-hmm.
We've done tests with dry ice, liquid nitrogen. I mean, dry ice is 100 and some degrees below zero, like 115 below zero. I know with my mittens, I put my hands in the dry ice for a half hour with it. And I've got pretty poor circulation in my hands too. And they were fantastic. After a half hour, I checked the inside, I had a thermocouple on,
mm-hmm.
and the inside was still about 80 degrees. So it stays nice and warm.
I think now, describe to me how it works, so to speak. It traps the heat. And I mean, is that just the big thing? Is an insulation, it traps the heat?
Well, it's like any other insulation. It's let me back up. Aerogel insulation is the product.
Okay.
It is a product that's been around. I think NASA invented it in 1929 or 1930.
Really, that long ago, huh?
Yes, but they were never able to put it into clothing. And there was a point where some genius figured out that it could be, different forms, different shapes. And finally we got to the point where we could encase it in a foam. And I guess the best way to compare it would be, those Tempur-Pedic mattresses,
memory foam mattresses.
If you were to just slice, like you would a cheese slicer, slice off a thin slice of that. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the consistency of it. And it's got the aerogel built into it. So when you put this into a garment, it just basically insulates you better than any other insulation on the market. I think it's 20 to 30 times more insulative than your standard foam insulation that you put in a house, or, the batting insulation.
And I know some of the people that you've had got it have submitted, like, say, thermal videos for you guys too. I know there's a couple that was just thermal, like taking the coat on and off, or looking at someone in it and seeing the heat difference. And then you had, if I remember it, a guy last year actually had a heat gun that read temperature and did both in thermal, with the jacket on, with it off, and stuff like that, right, too, to show the difference and how well it keeps you warm. Now you guys offer a complete line of products. Let me pull it back up here, because apparently I closed that page like an idiot. But you offer, hunting clothes in mossy oak, real tree extra, prime one whiteout, which is what I currently have. You guys offer a line of work gear, casual wear, some leather, and then some accessories like insulated caps, hand warmers, mittens, beanies, insoles, stadium hunting seats, and such like that. Now, would you say the bulk of your sales, or is it more like industrial stuff? Is it more outdoorsman? Is it more hunting? What would you say is, most popular for Shivershield right now?
Well, by far, the hunting community has supported us in an incredible way. And let me just, on a side note, say thank you to you and Overdrive Outdoors, because you guys have almost single-handedly made it the #1 selling state, Michigan. Our sales are just crazy up there. And We've never paid you. And, all we've done is thank you. And you guys have done great for us. I wish we had one of you in every cold state in the nation.
I'm
But
willing to locate for the right amount of money.
yeah, we'll negotiate. We can negotiate that. Yeah. Now that we got Michigan, then maybe we move you over to South Dakota.
Okay. Sure. I hear there's lots of good prairie dogs and coyotes over there.
But yeah, our hunting gear, obviously Brian and Becky are just huge hunters. So, and this is how it started is, and we kind of got away from that in the beginning, but this is how it started is Brian and Becky. Brian was cold, and Brian decided, being a really smart guy and an engineer and, just pretty much a genius, decided that he wanted to try to put it in clothing. And that's where the whole thing came from. Well, over time, our hunting community has been huge for us, but over time we decided, hey, we need to develop a casual line, and we need to develop this work line, which is great. The work line is like, I hate saying this word. I'll just say duck cotton, but the okay. CARR word. Yeah. It's that type of material. But the work line has been pretty good. I think we need to get the word out there more, because when people think of Shivershield, they think of hunting gear.
Right.
And we're far beyond that. We've got high visibility safety parkas. And, the women's line, we have a great product for, those women's jackets. And right now they're on sale, by the way. We can get to that in a little bit. Mm-hmm. But for 75% of our sales are to hunters. 25% are all the other things. But, a lot of people buy the accessories too, the seats, the caps, some of those other things. The insoles are huge. Most underrated product we've got is those insoles. There are a lot of insoles out there, but these things, the cool thing about these is you can be 500 pounds and standing on these things and flatten them down to nothing, and they still insulate you as well as somebody who weighs 80 pounds. So, and I know you're somewhere in between there, 580. I'm not sure where, but they'll work. The point is they work just as good under pressure, and just like everything else, just as good under pressure as they do, just standalone or, off without any pressure on them. So, but anyway, yes, the hunting community, that's where we're going with this. They are our biggest sellers right now, though we want to get the word out there and kind of branch out into other areas.
Now, you guys do sell internationally too, right?
Oh yeah. We've shipped to Russia. We've shipped to, Belgium, Romania, Canada, of course. We've even sold a little bit in Central America, believe it or not.
Why? I
don't know.
Are they planning a trip somewhere else?
Maybe it's cold in the mountains. I don't know, but Africa, we've got our stuff down in Africa too, because there are cold places in Africa, believe it or not.
So, what would be the most unique location? I know some of your customers send you pictures in like unique locations where they're wearing the Shivershield gear. What's the most unique one that you've received?
I think the coolest one was probably Kilimanjaro. Ken Lakari, one of our customers, he's up in Michigan. Imagine that, another Michigan customer. He went up to the top of Kilimanjaro, really? And he had just a nice gray jacket on, and there was one. Galen Wells went up. It wasn't Kilimanjaro. What's the other big mountain?
Everest.
Wasn't Everest. I'll have to think about that, but he set up a base camp and he had it there too. So the mountain ones are cool. A lot of ski slope pictures, things out of the hunting realm that we've gotten in that are kind of neat.
Right.
But it's kind of nice to have it in Russia. I think that's a big deal. It's kind of expensive to ship though.
Right. Yeah. But it's really nice. I mean, in Russia, you think about Siberia and some of that other stuff over there. It gets pretty darn cold over there, from what I understand. So now, like I have the pants, the jacket, the hat, and the mittens. But for hunting purposes, you also introduced Bibs last year, if I remember right.
Yes, big seller Bibs. They turned out to be very, very popular.
Now the one thing that always kind of cracked me up before I got it was the hat that came with mine. And it looks, it's kind of, I mean, form and fit, it reminds me of a stocking cap, but it looks completely different. But I tell you what, it's thinner than a lot of stocking caps, but again, it works so well on keeping your head warm, and plus it has a flaps that can pull down over your ear. But last year as well, you guys also introduced a new style hat, right?
Yes, we prefer to call them the rancher caps.
The what caps?
Rancher caps.
Okay.
But yes. Well, we got the bomber hats too. Those bomber hats are great.
Oh
But yeah,
yeah.
we use those all at once, but they are super, super warm.
Oh, rancher caps.
Yes. What
Okay.
did you think I said?
It sounded a little different, like ranter, but
Oh,
ranger caps, then the bomber caps. Okay, I'm looking at those right now on your website.
yeah. The
Um,
cool thing about the bomber hats that I like is they've got Velcro on each side, the flaps that come down, and
mhm.
you can put a face mask over it. And I've got one of those. I wear it all the time when it gets really cold out. And that face mask is also aerogel insulated. And it really makes a big difference.
Really. Um, so yeah, in regards to how it looked a little funny, but like I said, I'm a practical type of person and been very happy with it. Now, some of them want something a little bit more traditional, like you said, the bomber cap or the rancher cap would probably be a good fit for someone that wants something with a brim on it for maybe, blocking the sun out of your eyes and such.
Yep.
Um, Going to the other stuff that I have, the mittens. So your mittens are fingerless, but they do cover the thumb, and then they have a flap that goes over to cover your fingers. Velcro closure around the wrist. Um, what I've found with those, and again, with me, my hands and feet are the things that would often get the coldest. I like having the fingerless gloves because that way you can handle stuff. But my concern before I got them was that, holy crap, my fingers are going to freeze. I've used other brands of similar type products, and still when it got really cold, I would still get cold fingertips. So I got those mittens and I started wearing them. I'm like, okay, my fingers are cold, put the flap over, and it took like 5 minutes and my fingers were back to being comfortable again. And then like last night I was out hunting, and I think I told you earlier, it was like between 25, 28 degrees last night. First got out, first put the mittens on, my fingers got a little cold. I closed the flaps. After that, they warmed back up. After that, I didn't have to put the flaps back on. So I don't know if it helped to retain the heat and the bulk of my hand, which helped with my fingertips, or what it worked. I just know that it works. And if they get cold, I just pull that flap over them, and it doesn't take long and they're back to being comfortable again.
That's exactly right. And the same thing happens to me every single morning. And by halfway through, I walk the dogs every single morning, about 4 or 5 miles. After mile one, I'm already unzipping, and I
Right.
got, it doesn't matter if it's 10 degrees, 20 degrees below zero, you have to start unzipping if you exercise too much in them.
Yep.
And, but getting back to the mittens, same thing, but getting back to the mittens is, we've had people, you ever heard of Raynaud's syndrome? I may
I,
be
I
destroying
think I
destroying
have.
pronunciation. Basically, it means you have poor circulation. There's more to it, but you have poor circulation in your fingers
Mhm.
and your in your hands and your I think even your feet. But we've had people that have bought these with that Raynaud syndrome, which it's been impossible for them to find products to keep their hands warm. I've had people call me, email me, and say, this is the most incredible product because now my hands are warm. I mean, what better endorsement than that? And I know I have really crappy circulation in my hands. And when I go out there, I mean, my hands are always cold. They're cold right now as we're talking. I'd have my mittens on right now if I wouldn't look dumb in the house. But yeah, they just work fantastic. They warm your hands up better than any other mittens out there, and they're thin too. They're lightweight. You think I've weighed those mittens? They weigh less than a half. I think they're like 6 ounces for a
Mhm.
pair of mittens. It's nothing.
Right. In terms of like the pants and jacket that I have, one of the features that I do really like about it is there's a lot of pockets and storage in them. The zippers aren't really loud. They're smooth and tight. But I mean, it's a full length zipper on the leg. You have Velcro ankle straps, so you can Velcro them around your boots. But I really do appreciate the pockets in the jacket and in the pants. The closures on them is secure. It's still the same material inside the pockets. It's not like something different. Like you see some of these that have like I don't know, cheaper, crappy stuff inside the pocket. These aren't. It's the same material inside the pockets on mine. But I really do appreciate that. Like even the chest zipper on the jacket. There's times where I'm out hunting and I want to have my phone accessible. Well, when you're all suited up, if you have your phone on a holster on your belt, it's kind of a pain in the butt to get to, but that chest zipper, I can open that up. My phone fits right in there and my phone doesn't freeze when it's in there. So that's really nice. That's something I appreciate about the gear as well.
Well, that's it. It's made for hunting.
Right.
And that's a big deal. A lot of pockets, because how many people have their game calls? How many people have, your phone? That's a big accessory now.
Yep.
Everybody's got a phone, so you got to have all those pockets. But yeah, there's pockets on the arms. There's pockets all over the place. But yeah, my favorite improvement on those things that we've done is magnets, and the more as we produce more and sell more of the old stuff, bring in the new stuff, everything will eventually be magnets that can be. The buttons, the pocket flaps, everything's magnets, and they're more expensive, but they're well worth it because they're quiet.
Yes.
And you don't have to mess with them.
Right. So this might be a silly question, but I have a Fox Pro Fur Taker's vest that I carry all my game gear, my hunting gear in when I'm out. And there's a magnet closure to cover the remote on that. Well, I've noticed over time that magnet has actually seemed to have gotten weaker. Is there a way to recharge that, so to speak? Magnetize it?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Maybe rub two together really hard.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, because I know you can magnetize like a screwdriver just by doing stuff. So maybe I can remagnetize that a little bit more. But yeah, I do like the magnets because Velcro is great in terms of being secure, but it's noisy as heck. Like last night, I want to say there's only like 2 to 3 mile per hour winds. It was quiet out there last night. I mean, matter of fact, I killed 3 coyotes last night. And the first one I killed, I had to reposition to get lined up on him around my tripod. And I bumped that tripod and instantly that coyote was looking right at me. And I'm like, oh, great. Luckily there was no moon. It was really dark. I stayed quiet after he looked at me. So he continued on his way and I was able to make the shot. Then the other spot where I went to, I called in 2 and they came from behind me. And again, I had to swivel around to get on them. And I don't remember if it was just the noise of me hitting a corn stalk in the field or something, but they heard me and they took off, but I was still able to make that shot. Now, if I had to reach for something with Velcro, they'd be hearing me from a mile away. And going back to the point we made earlier, also, I was able to move. My clothing didn't make any noise. It was just my big clumsy butt bumping into the tripod or what have you, or stepping on a corn stalk. The clothing doesn't crinkle or anything like that. So again, that's another point of something that I appreciate about the gear. I know that the gear isn't going to cause me an issue. If there's an issue with something like that, it's on me bumping into something, whatever.
We can't do anything about your clumsy.
No, can't do anything about that, especially in the dark out there all by myself, vicious predators around me.
Yep.
So now I know you have insoles too, and those universal, or are they size fit?
All right, we've got insoles with arch supports, and we've got flat insoles. And the flat insoles are generally, they'll go up to about size 13, give or take, maybe 13 and a half. They're cut to fit. The arch support won't go up to size 15. They're still trimmed to fit, but they're probably pushing, they're about 11 and a quarter inches from heel to top. So they're right around a size 11, give or take, but you can still trim them down. Okay. So, it's your preference and what fits your foot, but they are great products.
So speaking of sizes, what sizes do you guys offer?
In what? Everything?
Jackets and pants and bibs.
That's a good question. Our standard lines are currently Realtree Edge, which is the newer Realtree pattern. And then we've got Prime 1 in whiteout and MP. And we've got everything depending on, our inventory. Generally speaking, we have up to 4X in coats.
Okay.
And in Bibs, we have up to 3X. Small size, generally small. We have small in pants all the way up to 2X. And then with the Bibs, we didn't get anything less than a large. So
Okay.
we've got in the Bibs, we've got large to 3X. In the jackets, we've got small to 4X.
So here's a thought, since we're talking about it, it popped into my head. Is there any plans to do like a children's line? Because that's one thing that we see quite a bit, especially in late season deer hunting here, is families that want to take their kids out, and their kids just can't, the kids don't handle the cold very well often, especially when they're sitting still. Is there any plans for maybe doing like a children's size?
Well, you don't know how many times the three of us have had this conversation. And here's the major problem we have with this, and we're not necessarily ruling it out, but the major problem with that is you've got a 6, 7, 8-year-old kid, and you buy a $400 jacket for them, and a year later, unless you plan on having 25 kids, it just doesn't pay for itself.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I understand that.
Now, there may be a point where we have a limited amount. The women's jackets work. I mean, even on boys and girls, the
Sure.
smallest size women's jackets do a pretty good job. But even then, it's tough to make a product line for kids that they're not going to outgrow.
Right. That makes sense. I can appreciate that. Is there anything new that you guys are currently working on?
Let's see. What can we discuss? Yes, the answer is yes.
Okay. That's a fair answer.
Well, one of the things, and we were talking about this a little earlier, we had some really cool prototypes that we made that we wanted to get produced last year. And we all know how the last couple of years have just messed everybody up as far as production. I won't even mention the word because it's so aggravating. We had a balaclava, and that was a really cool product. There were a few kinks we needed to take care of that I think I'm hoping we can get those introduced this fall, because they were really cool. And they were so cozy. We developed a prototype of some boot covers that, again, we couldn't get produced. And I can't really go into that much because we just didn't get to the point where we felt comfortable selling them. We're not going to sell garbage. We want to sell something that we would wear.
So,
and
going back to the balaclava real quick, is the plan to offer those in any specific colors or patterns or anything?
Well, the one we developed was in the Realtree Edge product. But yes, we were going to, when we do them, it's definitely going to be in whiteout, so you can match the rest of your outfit, Kevin. Mm-hmm. And, we're going to have them in MP and then the Realtree Edge. Those are pretty much our three standard offerings these days.
I would think that one might be good for some like I want to say industrial application, but for people that work out in the cold, that might be a really good option for them too. If you have to wear a hard hat, because a balaclava, it's easy enough to put a hard hat over the top of it. That might be something really good for like oil field workers.
Right. Yeah, that's a good, I don't know how, if they want camo or not, but yeah, we may have to.
Well, it works. I bet you they don't really care.
That's true. Yeah. Maybe we should make it high visibility so their face is just glowing.
Right. Glowing.
But one of the challenges we had with the balaclava is just making it comfortable, making it so that when you turn your head, it's comfortable. And that's one of the things we've been working on, and hopefully we can do something with that by next fall, because I love it. I put it on. It came. People can't see me, but it came all the way down. It was almost like a dickie, where it came down. I think I'm using that word right, but it's.
I've heard of Dickie Doos, but I'm not sure about a Dickie.
You know what a Dickie is? Haven't you ever seen those? Look it up. Just Google it. Dickie.
I'm scared to Google that word.
That's true. Yeah. But well, anyway, we're still working on a few design issues with that. But the cool thing that I'm 80% sure, 85% sure that we're going to have next year, depending on cost and depending on what it's going to take. We've got a really cool product. It's a blanket, and
Really?
it's going to be, I believe, 5 foot by 6 foot blanket. And we're deciding what to, it's going to have to be a durable item, because think about sleeping bags. You want to put it down underneath a sleeping bag, for instance, but you also want to be able to have it in your home. And, women are always cold, right? My wife's cold. It could be 85 degrees in the house and she'd be freezing.
Yeah.
So think just a nice, comfortable blanket. And that's the one thing I'm excited about, is I think we're going to have them.
Boy, when you do get those, let me know, because actually, it's kind of unfortunate, but I know several people that have had to go to like dialysis treatments or whatever. And one thing that is in high demand at those places is what they call a weighted blanket.
Yeah.
Because weighted blankets, I mean, I'd never even really heard about it until I started, seeing people talk about this. But weighted blankets seem to be pretty popular to people. And I would think that, with that aerogel, you would get that benefit of a little bit of weight to it, and it would be extremely warm. So when you come out with those, let me know.
The problem is, Kevin, you would be mistaken, because the problem with aerogel, and one of the challenges is, if that may sound like a big blanket, but it is feather light. And so it would be a matter, if we did a weighted blanket, we would have to figure out some way to make it heavier, because you've had our gear on,
right?
That aerogel insulation is lightweight,
but
and
it's still going to be heavier than like a terry cloth blanket.
You'd be surprised.
Really?
Believe me, I've got one. I've got a little one here,
Okay.
just like a 4x5 blanket, and it needs to be heavier. It's got a very light quilted material on it, granted, but it weighs nothing. It weighs like a half a pound.
Well, like I said, I'd be really interested in checking one of those out for my wife and maybe a few other people. So when you guys do come up with them, please let me know.
Yeah. And you know what's cool about that? You brought up a really good point. You were talking about dialysis.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a few people. In fact, Kyle Butterworth.
No.
Okay. Well, he's up in Michigan. Don't all you people in Michigan know each other? Well, he's in a wheelchair. He's a hunter, and he's got a really cool wheelchair. It's got those treads on it and stuff.
Okay.
But Kyle, he couldn't go out hunting for very long because he was cold all the time. He's paralyzed from the waist down, I believe. And he bought our Shivershield gear, and he loves it. He tells me all the time, I've never had something that has kept me warm, because one of the problems is he like other people in wheelchairs or other people with paralysis,
you can't move to generate heat.
Well, they don't know if they're getting cold or not.
Oh, okay.
Because there's no feeling. Right. So they're not sure if they're cold or not. So now he can go out and he doesn't have to worry about it anymore, where he would have in the past. But anyway, yeah. So we've got a few too. Another guy named Randy that he's been a Shivershield customer for years. He's probably got several outfits of ours, but he wears them because he likes to hunt and stay out as long as he wants and not worry about whether he's freezing or not.
Very cool. So we talked about this earlier, and I have to admit my own fallacy here is I sent you a PM last night at, I don't know, like 12:30, because I got in from hunting. And somehow I managed to get blood all over my pants from these coyotes. They are washable just like any other garment, correct?
That is absolutely right. And I think I need to put and by the way, just for the record, all the stuff going out now that we have produced in the recent times has washing instructions on it. It was a mistake of ours. Or an oversight, I should say, but the washing instructions are on the website, as we all know now, but they're under the product area.
Yep.
But yes, they are 100% machine washable, machine dryable. We always recommend with the dryer, and I've had to do this too. When you put your stuff in the dryer, about halfway through the cycle, turn it inside out.
Yep.
So that you get the inside and the outside completely dry. But no, don't be afraid to wash it and dry it just like you would any other clothing.
And I've washed mine twice, and you'd think I will have remembered from the last time I washed it what to do, but this I didn't last night at 12:30 in the morning. But I washed it first thing this morning, and I got it hanging right here in my shop now. But it washed up fine. I mean, luckily all the blood
Get the
came
blood out?
Huh? Yeah, blood came right out. We got
Excellent.
I got some my wife actually stays on top of this stuff pretty good. She got some product that's a powdered stain remover that you put in stuff specifically to get rid of odors and tough stains. And I just put a bit of that in there, washed it through one cycle, and there's no more blood on it at all. And especially on whiteout, if there was blood on it, you definitely see it. So
Yeah, that's true.
that's good. So if someone wants to get Shivershield product, you guys do have a website. The website is shivershield.com. There's no www in front of it, I don't think, right?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Shivershield.com, www.shivershield.com, whatever. It all goes
Yep.
to the same place.
And on there, you have different sections for, about the whole information on the company, what the aerogel is, and then you have your products categorized on there. Now you mentioned earlier, there's some promotion going on right now, sales.
Yeah. Well, technically what was the Black Friday sale, we kind of quote unquote accidentally left it up a little long, but it's such a great deal. And we're really excited about it because a lot of people that are bulking at a $400 jacket, $99 for all the women's jackets that are remaining. And even the pants, we've got all the way from small to 3X pants in our Mossy Oak and Realtree Extra men's pants on sale. They're $99. Those pants are regularly anywhere from $300 to $330. And there's a reason for this. This is basically a clearance. It's an all sales final, but it's well worth every penny of $99. And I can tell you that we're not making a dime off this stuff. It's a matter of getting this inventory out to people that is extra inventory,
Making room for the new.
To buy it. And it's kind of like a gateway drug. Maybe next time they'll drop $400 on a jacket.
Right.
But the other part of that is, excuse me. The other part of that is we do have additional products on sale. All the Prime One whiteout and all the Prime One MP, and there's even some pink out, Kevin, if you if you're
Really?
into pink.
No, not me.
There's yeah, sure. Okay. We'll talk about that later. You don't have to admit it on your podcast. Those nice beanies you have. Yeah, there's a nice pink out beanie you can put on. But there's just beanies and mittens, and that's pretty much it. That's our pink outline. But we thought it would be kind of cool just to try something different. But everything, all that stuff, all that Prime One, what is on sale for 25% off. And let me tell you, it is great. And I also should mention, we didn't talk about this, but let's talk about our awesome military discount.
Oh, yeah.
Our military discount, I don't know of any other company that is going to put out a 35% discount to all active duty and veterans on any regular price Shivershield. I mean, you're buying basically 65 cents on a dollar. You're buying Shivershield gear. So all you got to do, there's a VIP application right on the first page of shivershield.com, but 35% off. I mean, how can you beat that? That's year round.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. Now you guys do offer some uninsulated stuff as well. I know I have one of your uninsulated jackets, and again, the quality on it is really good. It seems like it's a similar outer material, but even though it's uninsulated, that sucker is pretty darn warm. I mean, it's a nice coat.
Yeah, they're good coats.
Very good coats. I get comments on it quite often when I'm out wearing it. Of course, we do on the Shivershield too. When walk into a gas station, you got that on. Every now and then you get someone that's asking about it. And of course, I always rave about it. But yeah, that uninsulated coat is surprisingly warm and again very comfortable and is well made. So I'm even that one I'm pretty happy with. Um, now
Yeah,
what about
those are also on sale right now too.
oh,
They're
okay.
down from, actually they're half price. They're 80 to 40.
Now one thing I see on here too that you don't see a lot of with other companies, and I've actually been trying to push it a little bit because where I work, we have, of course, like most places, you have your lot of Harley riders and bike club guys, but you guys do have a line of leather, like motorcycle jackets
Yeah.
and
Yep.
vests and chaps. And, some of the guys I've been talking to are going this with a fad of the whole electrical heated coats. And I'm like, those would probably work great, but tell you what, you don't have to charge these. You put them on and they're going to stay warm all the time.
Yeah.
And I,
They're like, well, think about it this way. People right now are using our gear for snowmobiles. They're going 50 miles an hour.
right.
How fast does a snowmobile go? They go pretty fast, right?
Oh, there's some out go way a lot faster than I want to go. I know that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know, I know some of those sleds out there will do well over 100.
That's
That's too
crazy.
fast for me being that close to the ground and stuff where can't see what's underneath the snow.
Yeah, I don't go on anything less than four wheels anymore. On anything. They got to have wheels, no tracks, no glides, and no two-wheel devices.
No. You used to ride motorcycle then?
What's that?
Did you used to ride motorcycle?
I've had motorcycles. Yeah, I mostly no, all crotch rockets,
Oh,
and
nice. What'd you have?
I had a Jeep Kawasaki GPZ 750.
Nice.
And the day I got my driver's license, I lived in Long Island, New York when I was, 18. And I just bought this motorcycle. And the first thing that happened was I was driving down a road. Well, I was going 105 and a 35.
Mhm.
And I got pulled over and almost lost my license the first day I got my motorcycle. Uh, so I was reckless. I've wrecked it a million times, but it was fast. It was really fast.
I had a Yamaha YZF R1, and again that bike would get up and go.
Pretty quick.
Put it that way. I know the guy I bought it from had it set up for racing, and they took it to a track, and they did it 160 GPS confirmed. I never took it that fast because I'm not that brave, and plus I don't have a racetrack around. But it was pretty easy to get away from obnoxious drivers if I wanted to put some space between me and them. Put it that way.
It's scary.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's not even you. It's the other people around you.
Yep, that's the scariest part of it is people on their cell phones and everything else.
But if I had Shivershield on, I could go that fast in the
And
cold.
stay warm, right?
That's right.
So, for people that may want to know, what is the warranty on the products?
Generally speaking, the warranty is 1 year.
Okay.
So that's against manufacturer defects. So if whatever, if a button flies off, or, I mean, if you catch fire, we're not going to replace it. But if the button flies off, or a zipper breaks, or, you have some egregious rip in it someplace, something that was caused by manufacturing, we'll replace it or repair it, whatever works.
Great. You touched a little while earlier that it's not necessarily waterproof, but is water resistant, correct?
Yeah. I'll give you my personal experiences because that's the best way I can describe it. Before I do that, the Realtree Edge is actually a different fabric. And this is something I wanted to talk about, and I'm glad you brought that up. The Realtree Edge line is a different fabric, and it's not the quietest. It's not noisy. I mean, it's on a scale of 1 to 10, prime one is a 10 in quiet.
Mhm.
If quiet was 10.
Right.
But the Realtree Edge is maybe a 7 because it is treated with what's called a durable omni repellent.
Okay.
And so it does a really good job of repelling water. But here's a crazy thing about it. This durable omni repellent, and on all our Realtree Edge products,
Mhm.
they experimented with hydrochloric acid with it. And it repels to a certain amount. It'll tear it apart after a while, but it repels everything. Ketchup, mustard, blood, wine, you name it. It will repel right off it. You can run it under a faucet and it just goes right off. Not a
Okay.
faucet of acid, but a faucet of water.
Mhm.
But anyway, but getting back to the product itself, the insulation is absolutely impermeable to water. The fabric on our Prime One, for instance, or our Mossy Oak or Realtree or any of those, the fabric is just like any other fabric. It is not waterproof, and it is not, somewhat water resistant naturally. It's kind of like when you have a terry cloth towel and you try to get dry with it, it doesn't really work very well,
Right?
Because it doesn't absorb the water. So our stuff is similar to that, where it doesn't necessarily absorb the water unless you're in a downpour. But if you're in a downpour, then you're probably too hot to be wearing Shivershield anyway.
Right.
But my personal experience is I have been caught in a good heavy rain with it, and anywhere there's a seam, there may be a drip or two that get in. But generally speaking, and we can't call it waterproof, but generally speaking, it does a really good job against water.
Okay. Good way to explain it.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to add about the products or anything you got going on, or any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Well, if you're bulking, price, let's talk about price again. We brought up price a little bit ago, and this is what I tell people, and this is what people have told me. Kevin, you are a gun aficionado. You probably have one or two, $4,000 or $5,000 scopes.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not here to get you into trouble, but wouldn't you love to be able to take that beautiful, expensive rifle out? And wouldn't you love to be able to stay in the cold all day long with it instead of having to go home because you bought crappy gear?
Yeah.
There's your answer right there. If you're balking at spending that kind of money, you better think twice about it, because even at full price, to be able to enjoy your other expensive toys is well worth every penny of it. And it's on sale right now. The other thing I would say is the people that are new to this and have never heard of Shivershield or are interested, go up to our site and take a look at the media, the video gallery. There are some really great testimonials up there, some great reviews, and some great product information from people outside of us. They're unbiased, like you. And we depend on word of mouth. And we depend on people watching these things, because we don't spend a ton of money on marketing. We don't want to. We don't think it's right. And we're not going to pay somebody to buy our gear or pay somebody to wear our gear and talk about it. And we've got a very loyal base of customers. Steve did that video on there, the unboxing. Yeah. We didn't ask him to do that. And it's just, we really appreciate that. And, if anybody's got any questions, the phone number's right there. You call the phone number, and guess who answers the phone? We have the best customer service available. What can I say about that?
Yep, that is one thing I've heard a lot of is, and I've sent people your way, and everyone has always come back and said you're a pleasure to deal with. So, I mean, that's another reason why, I don't hesitate to recommend the product, is not only just the product, but, the character that's attached to it.
Wow. I'm not sure how to take that. Well, I look at it this way. This is how Brian and Becky feel too. We treat people, we use the golden rule. We treat people exactly how we want to be treated. If there's a problem, we fix it, or we do our best to fix it. And when somebody calls, we pick up the phone and we talk to you. And if you want me to take your credit card on the phone and place the order myself, I will. That's what we do. And then we'll get it out the door. But we really appreciate all our customers, and we hope to see more. And so go out and tell everybody, that's my final thought.
So if someone wanted to get more information about Shivershield, obviously you have the website, but you're also on Facebook.
Yep.
And are you on any other social media platforms?
We're on Instagram. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We're pretty much active on those two. And, maybe down the road, we'll find other social media outlets to get into. But, Twitter doesn't do much good for us. LinkedIn doesn't really do much good for us. So Facebook and Instagram.
And I know you guys have a lot of your, customer testimonials on Facebook as well. So, if someone wanted to actually research and try and find some testimonials on it, you could obviously look at your Facebook page.
If you read the reviews,
Right.
They're 100% positive, other than the anti-hunting community that absolutely hates our guts, and we're okay with that.
Right. But also, if you just did a quick search for excuse me, pound sign Shivershield and stuff like that. You'll probably find a bunch of stuff scattered all over social media on, people's testimonials and field tests on it. So I guess my point to somebody is if you're on the fence about it, like you said earlier, it's probably, well, like I said earlier, it's probably the best investment I've made for being able to hunt in the cold weather. But like I said, you can take other people's word for it as well. There's plenty of people out there that have picked it up and had similar experiences. And I mean, it's really good stuff. It's always great to deal with you too, Phil. I mean, nice thing is I haven't had to talk to you about anything about the product other than just talking about it. I mean, I haven't had any issues where I've had to call in and, say, hey, Phil, this thing's a piece of crap. It broke on me. I haven't had that problem. We are talking about that earlier. I mean, I'm on this set. I think I'm on 3 years now, and it's been holding up great. I mean, it's just really good, solid stuff in my experience.
Well, I got to say, Kevin, you bring that up. I kind of hope something does go wrong with it, just so you'll call me for once.
I sent you messages and pictures last night. Come on. I'll try and get some more better model pictures posted.
Yeah. Yeah. And make them big too. When you send pictures, make them big.
Bigger pictures?
Yeah. Bigger pictures. Bigger is better.
Well, contrary to popular belief, I'm not all that big, so I don't know how much I can stretch that out.
Well, more landscape then.
There you go. Okay. I can do that.
And by the way, I'll just say one thing. You were talking about word of mouth and everything, and we were talking about pricing and everything else. Another thing that I want to bring up is you have 30 days. Buy our product, put it on. Don't take the tags out. Keep the packaging. Go outside and stand there for a half hour in 10 degree below zero and judge for yourself. If you don't like it, pack it back up. You're out shipping.
Right. And I think, another facet of this stuff is it would probably be excellent for ice fishing people.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean,
that high vis safety parka we have,
mm-hmm.
We've had a couple of people buy them just for ice fishing.
Really? Okay.
They are, they're an interesting product. And I know we kind of went through all our products, but forget about the high vis part. The fact is these things are 99.9% waterproof because they are a vinyl outside, or polyethylene or polyurethane outside, whatever, one of those polys.
Right.
And they've got a really cool head covering that really does well. It's got a big Velcro chin strap on the front. I mean, basically you're looking at a hole on the front of it. Check out the product on the website, but it goes down to almost your knees.
Oh, wow.
And it is so warm. It's unbelievable. It's not a hunting jacket. This thing is like something you'd wear if you were holding a stop sign out on the highway, making people stop. That's the kind of thing this is.
Nice. Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Phil. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll be in touch again soon. Thank you everyone for listening. And like we said before, don't hesitate to check it out. And if you ever have any questions on it, you can always reach out to Phil or any of the Shivershield team, or you can reach out to us. Most of the guys on Overdrive Outdoors, I believe, have the gear. If not everybody, I think everybody does. Just because we believe in the product and we're happy to have it. So feel free to ask any questions or, get a hold of Phil and check it out.
Thank you very much, Kevin.
Thank you, Phil.